And hello, one and all, and welcome to our review for WWE SummerSlam 2016, the big extravaganza, the biggest party of the summer. We're going to be breaking down and giving you our full thoughts and opinions on everything that took place on SummerSlam 2016 last night. Daniel Gaza, and once again, I am joined by my good friend, Mike. Mike, thank you once again for joining me for another live review of SummerSlam.
Thanks again, Dan.
So overall, as we usually do this, we'll start with our full thoughts and opinions on just the show overall, the flow of the show, because I know there were a number of complaints based on the 2-hour pre-show and then the 4-hour show itself. Mike, we'll start with you. What did you feel about the flow of the show, the match card placement, how things played out? Obviously, we didn't watch from start to finish. There was no way we could watch the pre-show, and but what were your thoughts? We'll start with you.
I won't lie and say I'm a little disappointed with how the show ended up being. I mean, I didn't hate the show, but I was definitely had higher expectations for it. I just think it was a little inconsistent. As well as you said before, most of the matches were really had a place last night.
It was. I think, as we always say, match card placement is very important. It can't break a show, but it can certainly hurt a show. And I think that's what we saw last night. There were just several head-scratching moments where it was like, okay, the women's championship was really early. Yeah. Then Rusev and Reigns, that whole thing was after the Universal title, which is supposed to be the preeminent title on the Raw brand. So that was weird. And then based on what happened in Lesnar versus Orton, could you make the argument that Balor versus Rollins should have gone on last based on how that Lesnar versus Orton ended, now that we have hindsight?
Definitely had the potential to be a really solid main event. I mean, they did the same thing on Raw last week. Or the fact also is they could have at least had that on second.
Or could you make the argument that the best match, I'm assuming your match of the night was Cena versus Styles?
Yeah, no doubt about it. That one was the best match of the night.
If that was the match that you couldn't top, could you make the argument that should have gone on last? Because if you can't follow it, that's the thing. If you have a match that you can't follow, it kind of hurts the rest of the show. Because nothing's going to top it.
Right, yeah. I mean, or it could have been at least later on in the card, too. It was what?
It was early.
Yeah, it was like 10 matches on a show, and that was fourth. Yeah, it was just way too early, in my opinion, for it. But, I mean, you can't take it away from that match, completely stole the show right there, either way.
It was phenomenal, and I can't wait to talk about it. And we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, yes.
4 hours. We're just talking about the main show. We'll run through the results of the pre-show, but we didn't watch, like I said, we didn't want to get burned out. Obviously, the crowd did in New York City. If anybody's watching this review, they went to SummerSlam. Let me know down in the comment section below what the crowd was like being there in person, because they're obviously crowd fatigue definitely played a factor into this show. And, well, Mike, we can talk about this. We were at SummerSlam last year.
Yes.
You remember being there. The pre-show, wasn't it only an hour?
Yeah, I think so. It was only an hour, but I mean.
But we got there. I can't remember what was on the pre-show, but, I don't remember us being fatigued. Even though it was a 4-hour show and it did drag at times, I remember us being hot for Lesnar versus Taker.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Excited for that match. And it just felt like last night, the crowd was burnt by the time we got to Orton versus Lesnar. So I just think going forward, for especially WrestleMania and SummerSlam, those being the two big shows that are 4 hours, you don't need a 2-hour pre-show.
Definitely not.
And if you do, don't have it. What I'm trying to say is, don't have consistently a bunch of matches. Have maybe one match on the pre-show, and shorten the pre-show. That way you keep the crowd energized and you can contain them throughout all 4 hours, because we saw it at WrestleMania. It affected that show. Thank God this show, it ended around 11. I was worried, because if they were going to do Reigns versus Rusev, SummerSlam would have went into overtime. And there's no reason for a show that is 4 hours. You have 4 hours to fill. You should be able to get everything in within that 4-hour time frame.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, that's just what I have to add about that, the length of the show. But let's get into the results. We'll briefly discuss these matches. We had our first kickoff match, which was the Vaudevillains teaming up with the Ascension, and I'm calling them Febreze because I hate the name Breezango.
I hate that name too.
American Alpha, the Usos, and the Hype Bros. Now, the baby faces won, as I predicted, but Mike, here was the interesting thing. The finish came when Gable and Jordan, they went up to the top to hit the Grand Amplitude. Jey Uso made a tag onto Gable, and Gable didn't see it, and Jey Uso stole the pin with the Uso Splash. And the way that it was done led me to believe that we're going to be seeing the Usos turn heel and possibly feud with American Alpha. I think it's the only logical, opponents for Alpha. I mean, the SmackDown Tag Team division doesn't really have, too many credible teams that, you know what I'm trying to say. What do you think about the Usos versus the American Alpha going forward for the SmackDown Tag Team division?
It works. I mean, it's like, in the past few years, the Usos, before the New Day got up there, the Usos were like the team to beat, I felt, pretty much. And then, things got really stale. But now it's that opportunity to have somebody else, take on as being the top tag team. And, definitely I'm completely okay with that altogether.
Sure. So we might see it this week on SmackDown. I'm assuming we're going to see something's going to happen based on – I know you didn't see it, but I went back to watch, and just the way the finish happened with Gable and Jordan, they were obviously upset with the way that Jey kind of just tagged himself in there, and the Usos were making a big stink about it. So don't be surprised this week if we possibly see a heel turn from the Usos. Like you said, I think it's long overdue. They've been stale since they came back. From their what was it in 2015? I felt like they needed to come back as heels.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll see where that goes, but like I said, that's what happened in that match. Let's move on to the next pre-show match. It was, let's see. Well, we did have a Baron Corbin promo. Excuse me, I can't even say his name. And he talked about, his feud with Kalisto. So just a quick mention. It looks like we will be seeing probably Baron Corbin versus Kalisto on the Backlash pay-per-view. That's a feud that I actually want to see, and I think they could have some good series of matches, and it would be a fresh program from Corbin, and they really need to get him on track. You a fan of Baron Corbin, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. I see a lot of potential in him, pretty much. I could see him being like a top heel. So
Definitely.
And it's not like another Dolph Ziggler feud where it's like it feels like somebody who's just going to put him over. They both need somebody to work with. Both him and Kalisto need somebody to work with to, get to that next step. And I wouldn't mind seeing a good series of matches with these two.
Sure. So we'll see where that goes. The second match, like I mentioned, was the Dudley Boys taking on the team of Sami Zayn versus Neville. Sami Zayn and Neville, excuse me. This match, I saw parts of it for what it was. It was fairly standard tag team action. Of course, the Dudleys lose another match. And I'm wondering if we might see a split of the Dudley Boys because as Bubba was going for the clothesline, he accidentally hit Devon again. So there's been constant miscommunication from the Dudley Boys, and this causes them to lose another match. And Neville and Sami Zayn pick up the win as Neville hits the red arrow. Mike, what do you think? Your thoughts on potential Dudley Boys split? We know Bubba Ray from his Bully Ray work in TNA has done phenomenal stuff as a singles star. I think it would be great for the Raw brand, especially considering the Dudleys have lost. I mean, when's the last time they've had a big win? Your thoughts on a potential split?
Yeah, I mean, I actually thought a couple months ago that was necessary. It just seemed like, after that feud with the Usos, I mean, a heel Dudley Boys seemed fresh.
Yeah.
But then it was just like, where else are they really going to go with it? I've been hearing for months that they were going to, think about splitting them. So I think, it's definitely time.
Sure. So, we'll see what happens there. We might get something might happen tonight on Raw in Brooklyn. We'll have to see. And then we moved on to our third SummerSlam kickoff match. It was the first match in the best of 7 series between Sheamus and Cesaro. From what I saw, I wasn't really paying too much attention to this match. It was in the corner of my eye, but it seemed like good stuff. Sheamus and Cesaro, they usually go out there and they have pretty good matches between one another. And I am a fan of the best of series stipulation. You had to know going into this that Sheamus was probably going to get, a win, seeing as how Cesaro pinned him the last 2 matches that they had on Raw. So I'm not disappointed to see Cesaro lose. I just want to see Cesaro be the one to come out on top of this best-of-7 series. This needs to be about further establishing Cesaro as the Swiss Superman and building him up to that main event status that I know you desperately want to see. And
yes.
Want to see. So, Mike, your thoughts on Sheamus winning this first match? And, I don't know if did you watch – I know you arrived a little late, but did you see any part of this match? I don't think –
I didn't really see any big part of it, but, they have – as long as there's nothing weird on the line, like they didn't have as great matches back in the day when Sheamus was the U.S. champion. Those two matches weren't really that great, in my opinion. Well, I guess, again, because, Sheamus was a really pointless U.S. champion back then, but I don't want to get into that. Yeah. But definitely, without a title on the line, these two really solid matches. And I don't mind seeing them doing the best-of-7 series. Do you think that they're going to go all 7 with them, or do you think someone's going to win at 6 or something like
that? We'll have to see. I mean, like I said, I just hope they don't have – there's no reason for Sheamus to win this series.
Exactly, yeah.
This should be about establishing Cesaro, reestablishing him, and just building him up to, I don't know, go after the U.S. title. I'd love to see him go after the Universal title. Sorry, it's so tough to keep up with all these titles now. But I'd love to see Cesaro versus Finn Balor.
Yeah, I mean, no, I wouldn't mind it at all. I mean, the thing though is this: if they choose not to go with Cesaro for some reason, it's really going to hurt him because he's just going to get lost in the shuffle. Like, whoever loses this feud is definitely going to get lost big time in the shuffle. And Sheamus being lost in the shuffle, I have nothing against that.
He's been lost in the shuffle ever since he had that awful world title reign. So I really don't care what they do with Sheamus at this point. I just feel like Sheamus, the heel turn, it just hasn't worked. And I thought it would work. I said they needed to turn Sheamus heel. Came back with the look. Remember, he attacked Daniel Bryan. We're thinking, okay, here we go. And it's just, I don't know what it is. He's just missing. I think it's his character. I mean, there's just really nothing there. I don't care.
Might be, yeah. Or the inconsistency they've made. Like, there have been a couple times where Sheamus has gone, like, all-out brawls. Like that one brawl when he was, I hate to bring up League of Nations, but when the League of Nations went all out with the New Day on Raw, I can't remember, were we there that night? Was that the Raw in Pittsburgh that night?
Yes, it was.
That backstage segment with Apollo Crews, and then like one or two, like even though that when he returned and turned heel, I feel like I want to see more of that in Sheamus. Like they haven't like really like had him come out and be like extremely aggressive to fire. Yeah, that's what I think what they're missing from having. If they would have him do more of that, I'd be a little more into him, but they don't have that, and he just comes out and he's just all talk. That's just all it seems like right now.
Boring. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
There's really nothing to him at this point. So, like I said, that's all we're going to say about the pre-show matches. Let's get into what we did watch, which was the 4-hour SummerSlam extravaganza itself. Now, our first match of the evening, I agreed with this match card on the card placement. I said in my predictions, you want to open with Y2K versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass, because you knew when Enzo Amore and Big Cass came out, they got a huge monster reaction, blew the roof off the Barclays Center, hometown boys, and like I said to you, Mike, last night, this was a solid opening tag match. I really loved the team of Jericho and Kevin Owens. They are gold, and I think in the long run, seeing as how they walked out the winners of this match, which kind of surprised me, but in the back of my mind, I thought they were going to win. Something told me, and we'll get into the finish itself. That was a little hokey there, but I could see them potentially challenging either the New Day or the Club, whoever's holding those tag team championships down the line. I could see this team going on to hold tag team gold based on seeing as how they walked out the winners of this match. Mike, what were your thoughts on this opening match and seeing Y2KO walk out the winners?
I mean, I did pick it first Enzo and Cass to win that. I felt that, it would be nice to have them see them win, being in their hometown in their first, like, really big event. But, I mean, I'm completely okay with Jericho and Owens winning. And, I wouldn't mind seeing them even, being in the tag title run. But the only thing I'm just concerned is, how long is Jericho still going to be around, though? You know what I mean?
Probably fall. I haven't checked the live event listings, but at least through the fall. So if you're worried about how long Jericho will be there for, at least another couple months. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about that. I haven't heard any rumblings about him leaving, but I'm telling you, they're entertaining. Just Jericho and his trolling the crowd, and Owens. It just works. I knew it was going to work when they put them together, and it worked. So
yes, definitely, yeah, love it. And like you said, also a great match to have start off. It's not something it's not like last year they opened with Sheamus and Orton, and that match
this is 10 times better than opening.
Yes,
Sheamus versus Randy.
It was a way to get the crowd energized into the show. So
yes, it did. And Enzo took a big majority of the punishment throughout this match. The finish was a little sloppy. I don't know what happened. They'll probably work on it. This is the first time we saw Owens get Enzo up. I don't know if Enzo didn't get enough of the leap, and Owens couldn't get him up all the way. But when Owens tried to set Enzo up for the code breaker, it kind of fell apart. It didn't completely fall apart, but it was a little bit sloppy. So that's how the finish came to the match. But like you said, fun way to open up SummerSlam 2016. So that was our first match.
Just to say also. Say also the look on Jericho's face after he did the code breaker. He looked up at Owens. He's just like, yeah, we messed that up, but oh well.
Jericho was a little pissed. He is a perfectionist, but like I said, good way to start SummerSlam.
You stupid idiot.
Yes. Hashtag stupid idiots. Our next match, this was surprising. The Women's Championship was the second match on the show, and it was a really good match between Sasha Banks versus Charlotte. I have to ask, Mike, between the match that they had on Raw, now that we can look back, and the match that they had at SummerSlam, which match did you prefer more so? Because I'm still leaning towards their match on Raw. I give the slight edge to, just because there were several botches in this match, like with Charlotte trying to get the, I think it was the backbreaker on Sasha, but Sasha landed right almost on her head. There was another botch in the match, so I think that kind of hurt the match. They were able to pick it up towards the end. But which match did you prefer, the one on Raw or last night at SummerSlam?
This match was okay. Like I definitely think it was not terrible. I think like I say, there was a couple botches, but I still definitely prefer the one on Raw. Like just the energy that was put into that night. It was really unpredictable whether or not like Sasha would have won that or not. Like, is this going to be just a segment just to set up their match, or is this going to be an all-out, flat-out fight? Like, we don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly. And what was really shocking was we had a new women's champion crowned on this show. I certainly didn't see it, but now that we know that Sasha Banks is dealing with a lower back injury and she might be out for the next month, thank God she's not suspended, and hopefully she's only out for the short term. It came down to Sasha hit a total whirl, which set up into the bank statement, and Charlotte was able to get Sasha in a pinning position, and she picked up the victory. Crowd, massive boos. They obviously wanted to see, like we all did, Sasha Banks walk in and walk out as the women's champion, but I was certainly shocked now that we know what happened. Mike, what were your thoughts on seeing Charlotte walk out as the new WWE Women's Champion?
Definitely really shocked. I mean, it felt like two big, pay-per-views in a row. We both felt both times that it was Sasha's moment. I mean, it was already, she already had her big moment on Raw a few weeks ago. Definitely shocked, but I mean, I don't mind Charlotte being the champion again at all. I mean, she definitely made it work really well. And also, as well, too, this is, I think, probably her first, clean finish. No interference at all, no distractions whatsoever since her heel turn, which I think is going to lead her into a different direction. So that's also a plus also, I feel, as well.
I'm going to throw this out at you. Tonight, Raw is in the Barclays Center again. And you know what I've been saying? I want to see Bayley make her debut on Raw, or her re-debut on the main roster since she debuted at Battleground. But the point being, what do you think about Bayley confronting Charlotte? And the next program would be Bayley versus Charlotte at Clash of the Champions for the Women's Championship.
I wouldn't mind that at all. I mean, who else is there on the main roster that could really challenge? I mean, on Raw at least, that could at least challenge Charlotte for the title right now. Paige is out with the suspension.
Right. Can't do that until Paige comes back. I would like to see Paige and Charlotte go at it again, though, once Paige returns. So that would be a future program. But, yeah, I think Bayley, you bring her up, she's going to get a monster reaction in the Barclays Center. And it's time. It's time for Bayley to come up. I know everybody wants to see Bayley go to SmackDown. But since SmackDown has Nikki Bella, I think Raw would benefit in having Bayley.
Definitely, yeah. Because Raw has most of the jobber women's wrestlers. They have Summer and Alicia. It's they need more people who are actually worth watching. You know what I mean?
Yes. I think adding Bayley, and we'll see what happens tonight. But that's my prediction. Charlotte will go into the ring, she'll boast, she'll brag about kicking Sasha's ass, and then Bayley's music hits and we get a great stare down. I'd just love to see that. So we'll see what happens later on Raw. But that was the match for the Women's Championship. So like I said, really good effort. I checked the time of it. They went 13 minutes and 54 seconds, so I'm glad they at least got enough time to tell a great story. And like I said, a few botches early on, but I thought the match picked up nicely towards the end. So I really enjoyed it. We then had the third match of the evening. This match was for the Intercontinental Championship. And I know we were disappointed to see Apollo Crews fall victim to The Miz. I was really hoping that this would be Apollo's night. Apollo needed something to get him going forward, moving forward to jumpstart his career, because they brought him up to the main roster. He wasn't on TV for a while. Feuded with Sheamus. That feud got cut short, and then he got drafted to SmackDown. It was just disappointed to see The Miz retain his title with the skull-crushing finale. Mike, what were your thoughts on this Intercontinental Championship match?
Yeah, this one was one of the matches I was really disappointed with, and it's not just the fact that Crews lost. It's like they didn't really make him look that great either. As I remember, you even said one time last night, it's like he looked kind of like didn't really look that great in the ring. I mean, he had a couple good, of his stand-up moments, yeah, but at the same time, it was just like, what really helped Crews in that match? I mean, Miz as IC champion this time around has been a little bit better than most of his runs, but yeah. I mean, he's been for like 150 days now. He doesn't really need it longer. And Apollo Crews, right? I mean, Apollo Crews needs a title more than him right now. So
I mean, what they're probably going to do is have Crews face him again and win at Backlash. But why not just do it on the grand stage of SummerSlam? It would have been a nice moment, I mean, the match was going okay, I thought, and it was just disappointing to see The Miz retain. Like you said, he's been Intercontinental Champ since the night after WrestleMania now, and Crews would have benefited more from the IC title. So that's really all I have to say about that. Anything else, Mike, that you have to add to this IC title match?
Nah.
Okay. So, yeah, that was what it was. But after this, we had our fourth match of the evening, and this was a really good one. This was John Cena versus AJ Styles. My, oh my, as we said earlier, this was our match of the night. These two went out there. You had an electric crowd. The crowd was as hot as they had been throughout the entire night. There was the Let's Go Cena sucks chants. They were firmly behind AJ Styles. This match, I timed it here. It went, I believe, It went 23 minutes, and it was a damn match. Yes, it certainly flew by. You'll hear in my live audio reactions that I'll post later on today. We were firmly invested in this match. Half of us wanted to see AJ win. Half of us wanted to see Cena win. These guys went all out. They took it to each other big time. Cena, I really liked the one spot where Cena got AJ on to the second rope and hit a super attitude adjustment to AJ Styles. But, of course, Styles was able to kick out. And, Mike, what were your thoughts on this match and see that AJ Styles was able to hit Styles Clash and then, come off the top rope and get the 1, 2, 3 clean win over John Cena? We don't see that often. What were your reactions to that?
Oh man, I mean, the way that they ended this match was just perfect. They didn't make anything cheap out, no small packages or just a finisher out of nowhere. But they told a story at the end of there. They had Cena, AJ Styles from the second rope. That's the same move, I believe, that beat him. That what he pinned him with at Battleground.
I believe. You're right. Yes.
Yes, and then just to have him kick out, and then just the expression of Cena's face in shock, right there, like it just told the story right there. And then Styles just hitting the Styles Clash and just wrapping up. It had the same feeling as whenever Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens at the end. That's that moment where Zayn looked into Owens' eyes and they did one more haluva kick on him. It's like Styles did more than just one thing just to put Cena down. Like it's had that same feel. Just this whole match itself, but just the way they finished right there. I just love that finish. And then, of course, after the match, which, if you want to get to that first before I say anything about that.
Match. Yes, thank you. Cena took off his Never Give Up armband. He left it in the ring, left a piece of himself in the ring, and we just saw Cena walk to the back. Now, obviously, I think Cena's going to be going on break for a little bit. He's going to be filming his next season of American Grit. So, obviously, this sets up for Cena to make an exit for the time being, and Styles. This just makes sense. This is what I said. What did I say? Styles needed to go over clean in this match. Why? Because Styles is, in my eyes, and I'm pretty sure in your eyes, besides Dean Ambrose, I actually think he is the face of SmackDown at this point. And I think he needs to, I'm going to say it, he needs to beat Dean Ambrose for that championship and hold on to it and have a nice run. He deserves to be WWE champion.
Oh, I agree. No doubt about it.
But I know you're a huge fan of Dean, but do you agree that now that he beat Cena, he needs to go right in the line for that championship?
Oh, definitely. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of Dean, but I have nothing against Styles at this point being the champion. And it said it was written right, too, because Cena's pretty much a part-timer now, as I keep saying. It's like, who's going to be at work on Tuesday? Styles. Cena might be there just because he has to do what Styles said so.
Yeah, so, that's true. I can't wait for that. That should be good stuff.
And it wonders, too, is Cena going in a different direction now? Because, he took the Never Give Up armband off. He's going to be probably saying, I can't say never give up because I gave up.
He did. I mean, I'm trying to remember the last time somebody pinned Cena. I'm guessing it was Brock at SummerSlam. That was the last time, unless memory escapes me.
Well, Del Rio, but that was a really cheap-looking win.
Well, let's just forget that because that was stupid. But focusing on this match, you're right. I can't wait to see what is next for Cena. So we are definitely intrigued and looking forward to seeing what happens this Tuesday on SmackDown. But, Mike, do you have anything else you would like to add to the match of the night between Cena and Styles? Would you say it was the match of the weekend?
Whoa. I'm not sure if it's match of the weekend. You really got me right there. I mean, it's definitely really up there. At least, I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure if it is for sure, but it's definitely right up there.
With the tag title match, the NXT, because to me, those are my two picks for match of the weekend.
Definitely.
Phenomenal tag title match in this. So this was a treat. And this kind of burned the crowd out after this. We're going to segue into the next match. I don't know what happened here. We had Jon Stewart come out of the ring. And I don't know about you. We were in the building last year for SummerSlam. He cut a really nice promo when he opened SummerSlam last year. This year, on the other hand, I don't know if he was on something. He just looked – I don't know if he was tired.
He looked really out of it.
He looked bad. It was painful. It was like – do we need him to spell this out for us? Like, it was – I think having him come out to the ring hurt this match. I'm sorry, it did. I would rather have seen him not come out. You know what I would have seen? Instead of Big E coming out and leading, so that's what happened, the disqualification, so the New Day still retain their titles. Didn't like that. Why not just have Big E do the entrance? Oh, Brooklyn! Then that gets the crowd really excited, and that's how he returns. Why wouldn't he just come out with the New Day at the start? Logically, if we're going with logic, which this company really doesn't like to use, what do you think about that, Mike? Because it hit me. Why not just have Big E do the introduction, and that's how he makes his return?
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded that at all. I mean, like I told you last week, the thing I was worried about this match, that it was going to be setting up Big E to go his own separate ways. That's the biggest thing I was worried about this match. But either way, it's like, you said, like, there was a solution to make it so that it didn't go that direction, but instead they did it like the wrong way, and it kind of felt like a segment on Raw, honestly.
This was a tag match that we could have saw on Raw. Was a weak tag match that we could have saw on Raw, and I was really looking forward to this match. I was, really hoping that the club would walk out with the tag titles, and that would factor into the Universal title match later on in the night. By the way, I have to mention that fun segment, that awesome segment between the club, AJ Styles reuniting, and Finn Balor. And that obviously didn't factor into what we saw tonight, but I have to mention that was a good segment. But, yeah, I agree with you. This was disappointing. I can't really add anything else to it. And then Jon Stewart got in the ring, and that led to the. I just it's a blur. I wasn't really paying attention too much to this match. So, like I said, Big E made his return, and that eventually led to the disqualification. So the New Day retained via DQ. I just didn't like that. And after the match, Jon Stewart danced with the New Day. So this was definitely the part of the show where I felt like after Cena Styles, we had this period where it was just like we had this match, and then we had what was it next? This was, and we're going to get into this match. This was disappointing, Mike. This was our sixth match of the evening. This was Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler for the WWE World Title. This was disappointing. I'm sorry, I have to say it.
I agree, no doubt about it.
Really good match. And you're still there, right?
Yeah, I'm still here, yeah.
Okay, I don't know what's going on your end. A little bit of audio picture loss, but you're okay. Anyway.
Sorry, someone sent me a text, so that's why it happened. So
okay. But this was disappointing. Yeah. I really thought the crowd was going to be into it, and they weren't. And I don't blame them because I think Ambrose and Ziggler, we've seen them have better matches. I know.
Right, yeah.
I don't know what way. Something was off tonight. It was just like, and I know what hurt this match. It was the fact that Ziggler, the way that they've built him up, I mean, yeah, they gave him some credibility, moving forward with the win in the six-pack challenge on SmackDown and then him beating Bray Wyatt. That's nice and all. But he has been booked like shit for so long now that it's just like, I don't think we can get behind him at this point. I love Dolph. I've been a fan of him, but he's been castrated literally since Survivor Series 2014. And something tells me that if Roman Reigns was healthy at that time, he would have been the guy to pick up the win against the Authority in that match. But since he wasn't, they gave it to Dolph, and then they knew going forward afterwards, we ain't going to do shit with Dolph Ziggler. Why? Because he's injury prone. He's injury prone. Yeah, because John Cena, didn't he get injured recently? He's injury prone. I'm just saying. It's frustrating as a fan what they've done with Dolph. I don't blame Dolph at all. But this was disappointing. And I blame both guys for that because they could have had a better match. I just don't really like how the match was laid out. And this one left me disappointed. Mike, what were your thoughts on this World Heavyweight title match?
Yeah, I mean, first off, it definitely was not one of the best matches these guys have had. I've seen them have several great matches on just Raw or SmackDown. They were pretty solid. But I guess what really disappointed me here is that, they were going in a different direction with Ziggler, I felt. They were bringing up this heat, even like a couple weeks ago on SmackDown had him look like he was like teasing a heel turn. People were like downing him, and like whenever he went to that match, that number contenders match against Bray Wyatt, he had like the potential, to be going off in a different direction, and they didn't go off in a different direction with him. It just looked like the same old crap happening to Ziggler. And unfortunately, I don't see him going anywhere else. That's why I was saying if they're not going to turn him heel or anything about it, put him on Raw, because the people are going to be getting lost in the shuffle on Raw, and there's someone else that'd be more worthwhile getting his position on SmackDown. You know what I mean?
Like Cesaro or Sami Zayn, maybe do a trade. I don't know.
Exactly.
You're right. And Ambrose was able to plant Ziggler with the dirty deeds, so that's really much all I have to say. I was really disappointed. I was thinking they had the potential to steal the show. Obviously, that didn't happen, so I was wrong about that. But yeah, major disappointment between Dean Ambrose and Dolph Ziggler. But like I said, I think we're going to see AJ Styles challenge for that championship next. So this was just a stopgap. I think that's what it was. It was a stopgap feud between now and Backlash. So that's all I have to add to that. So we had our seventh match. This was the 6-woman tag, Naomi, Carmella, and Becky Lynch versus Natalya, Alexa Bliss, and here comes the returning Nikki Bella. That's right. Nikki Bella returns after being out of action for when did she get injured? I can't remember.
She said she was out for 10 months.
10 months? Okay, so she's been out for 10 months. She makes her return tonight because the gorgeous, fabulous, stunning, Eva Marie's shtick is on vacation. So, AKA, she's been suspended because of the wellness policy. So, no Eva Marie tonight. This 6-woman's tag was standard stuff. All the women got their shots in. Of course, when you knew Nikki Bella was in this match, you knew that Nikki's team was going to win. And Nikki planted Carmella with the cutter to pick up the victory. Didn't really. This match was okay. Like I said, the crowd obviously wasn't too much into it. What I would have rather have seen, I know I laid this out in my card scenario, I would have rather have seen this match on the pre-show and then have Cesaro versus Sheamus on the main card. But like you said, seeing as how Nikki Bella returned, they obviously weren't going to do that. So once you knew Nikki was in this match, you knew her team was going to win. But I was disappointed to see Carmella be the one to take the pinfall, seeing as how she's just debuted on the SmackDown roster, and you could have had Natty get pinned. Or not Natty, sorry. I wouldn't have pinned Alexa. Well, this is tough. So maybe
Naomi or Becky were the other two people.
I'm sorry, I'm getting my. Thank you, Mike. All right, Naomi could have taken the pin. There we go. Because Becky's been losing left and right, and like I said, Carmella, she just debuted, so there you have it. Any thoughts, Mike, you have about this 6-women's tag match?
I'm not going to go off on the big rant I keep talking about for this match, but I want to just keep it short and sweet. This match, I wanted to be more so about, showcasing the new talent that came up on the SmackDown roster, because these women are given an opportunity. I mean, I understand, Eva Marie got suspended. Like, who else really was going to replace her? But they brought Nikki back, and it just looked like it was just a match just to, celebrate Nikki's return or something like that. And again, it just worries me having Nikki on SmackDown. It's like, is she going to really get in the way of these other women's futures? You know what I mean?
And I agree with what you're saying. I do like Nikki. I don't want to completely throw her under the bus, but I know you're worried about her potentially holding on to that championship, the new SmackDown Women's title, for quite a while. And I'd rather see Becky get that opportunity, because Becky has yet to hold on to a women's championship, and I think she's the most deserving at this point to hold the title. But we'll have to see how things play out. But yeah, that's definitely a valid concern that you have, and one that we'll have to see play out this upcoming Tuesday on SmackDown. So anything else, Mike, you have to add to this 6-women's tag team match?
Nah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, then. We move on to what I thought was one of the other really good matches last night. This was Seth Rollins versus the Demon. I'm not calling him the Demon King because I don't like that name. The Demon, Finn Balor. Balor had this phenomenal, great entrance, just with the smoke and the eye and the painting. It was the Balor that we all know and love, the former longest reigning NXT heavyweight champion. He made his presence. The crowd went nuts. It was just awe-inspiring. It was great to finally see the Demon make his debut on a WWE pay-per-view, so that was something to behold. And they also unveiled the WWE Universe. And there was clearly, real quick, just because I don't want to crap, the crowd crapped all over the title, and I understand their frustration, but there was also a match going on in the ring, so that obviously upset Seth Rollins, because he later tweeted out, he was kind of disappointed with the way that the crowd was, disrespecting what they were doing in the ring. So, but I do agree that the title is lazy. It's just looks like the women's title with somebody took a red highlighter and colored it red. So that was it's disappointing. I wanted to see something different. Or if they didn't want the crowd to crap on it, why not just unveil the title, I don't know, last Monday on Raw? That way you don't have that takeaway from how the crowd would react. So I just think that was bad timing. Mike, do you want to add anything to the title design? Because I really would rather focus on, the match itself.
Yeah, I would rather too, but just to say I am disappointed as well as how that title turned out. It just doesn't look different at all. It's like all these titles starting to look like that too. It's like, can't it have its own unique design? You know what I mean?
Now that requires effort, and they only have 30 writers. Cough, cough. Anyways,
38 enough.
So this match was really good. It didn't surpass Cena versus Styles, but that's okay. I really thought Balor and Rollins went out there and they told a great story. Balor just bringing the demon from within him and bringing the fight to Seth Rollins, the man. And there are a number of good near falls in this match. And when Balor tried to drop Rollins with the 1916, that went for a 2 count. Eventually, Balor, I believe didn't he have 2 pedigrees in this match on Balor?
I know he got one on him for sure, but I think he almost got a second one on him. I think Balor might have escaped
him,
from
and
it.
that was a 2 count. And then Rollins tried to go up for the Phoenix Splash, but eventually Balor was able to get out of the way. Rollins eventually hit a superplex on Balor, and then Rollins went up for attempted. This is I believe it's the third pedigree. I could be wrong about that. It's either the second or third. But Balor was able to counter with a flying stomp to the chest of Rollins, looked really nice. And then Balor goes up and he hits that up with the coup de grace. And your new Universal Champion is the Demon Finn Balor. It was a really good match. Really happy to see. I was pulling for Balor to walk out as the new Universal Champion, and he did it. And just great. I'm really happy for him. What a debut from his debut on Raw in Pittsburgh, a little less than a month ago, to now becoming the new Universal Champion, the new face of Monday Night Raw. Some may say it's too soon, too fast. That remains to be seen, but we'll see how things play out. But Mike, what were your thoughts on Balor walking out as the new Universal Champion?
I don't think it's to say it's too soon for Balor. I mean, what did he establish down NXT? He was like the face, the icon. It's like,
that's WWE. I know it's the developmental, but it's still all under the same umbrella. So people do have to factor that. It's like Samoa Joe. He could come up and win the title, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. I mean, these guys are going down there, and you're right. They're putting in the time of work. That has to be factored into it. But as you were saying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he already, established himself as like a solid guy. He's not some random guy who came up with really no titles or anything, and didn't really have a case to make himself be in the main event like that. Roman Reigns. But yeah, I mean, I'm okay with Balor getting up here already. It's like, what does he really have to prove that he's not worthy of, being in a main event push? And as far as the match, yeah, I agree, it's a great match. But again, with the crowd being too more focused on the title, I feel like that it kind of hurt it a little bit. But I don't want to make that as big of a factor. But I mean, I still can't take away that it was probably either the second or third best match probably of the night, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's either the second or third best match for me on this show. But yeah, we'll have to see where things go moving forward for Finn Balor. Hopefully everything's all right with his arm. I know it was in a sling, but I heard he was on GMA this morning, and he didn't appear to be wearing the sling. So that's a good sign. So
yeah, definitely.
Finn Balor. So that's what happened with the Universal title match. Next, we were scheduled to have – this was a little frustrating. It was supposed to be the U.S. title match. But remember, we already saw Rusev versus Roman Reigns on Raw. And we're thinking, why would they have a 20-minute match on Raw 6 days before the pay-per-view? What did they do on the pay-per-view? They did a beatdown and injury angle. Roman Reigns and Rusev began to brawl all throughout ringside. Eventually, the match never even starts, and then eventually Rusev is determined to be too injured to compete. I didn't really think it was that good of a beatdown. I mean, if it was like maybe there was some blood or something. I mean, we saw blood in the next match, but you know what I mean? If it was like a really vicious beatdown, okay, fine. It should have been done on Raw, but at least, we're moving the show along and it's not going to go into overtime. But yeah, this was weird. You would have thought this would have happened on Raw and the match would have happened on SummerSlam. It's like, okay. Mike, your thoughts on this angle?
I mean, again, as we talked about on our Raw review last week, it was just misplaced. I mean, I would have been okay with this being on Raw, the match being on SummerSlam. I mean, probably earlier in the card though, but I don't know. It starts to make me wonder: was this Vince again panicking, saying like, "Oh, Reigns might get booed out of the building if he wins the U.S. title. Maybe we should do this instead." It's like, it's like, well, one, you pulled the trigger and did at WrestleMania and had a terrible main event. So what's the difference now if you do it or not whatsoever? And it's just like, how can you not have that much confidence anymore to even, and do something like this? I mean, to have a match is a match that people weren't on one show is one thing, and then try to and have one advertised for another show, not have another thing. But, this, it was just like, something's up, that was just stupid.
It was weird. It really was weird. And by this point it was 10:38, so I was like, okay, that's fine, move on, we got to get to the main event. And that's exactly what happened. And this was a really I'd say shocking and weird main event. It was Brock Lesnar versus Randy Orton, the match 15 years in the making. It was the finish had me in shock. I mean, Lesnar took Orton to Suplex City early on. It was really hard hitting physical match, and I just rewatched the match, and I like what they did up until the point. I think it only went 11 minutes though, and I think I wanted to see these guys go for 10 more minutes, and I think the match truly could have turned into something special. You know, I enjoyed what I saw up to that point, but then Lesnar, after Orton attempted to go for the punt, he got Orton down, and he just started beating and hammering with the elbow shots right to Orton's head. And I watched, and he opened Orton up the hard way. Apparently, that was planned. That is what WWE wanted to happen. They didn't account for that much blood coming out of Randy Orton, but I remember all of our reactions when we saw that. I mean, it kind of made me queasy seeing. I don't remember the last time I saw all that blood. I mean, you saw Orton bleed a little bit, and then they panned back to him, and you just saw this pool of blood. And
man.
Woo! That was I get a little squirmish when I see that much blood. It was shocking, and Lesnar wins by TKO. And what made me think that this was planned to happen, if that wasn't planned, and they would have been like, the match is over, you know, but Lesnar, what did he do? Kept going back to Orton, and that told me that's what they wanted to happen. You know, if that wasn't planned, they would have escorted him out. You know, if he kept going back and targeting Orton after the doctors were working on him. So that's what they wanted to happen. It does leave me intrigued to see what happens, seeing as how Lesnar F5'd Shane McMahon. But Mike, what were your thoughts on Lesnar versus Orton? Are you in the same mindset that I am? You wanted to see more? Because, like I said, I thought it was good as it was going, and it could have picked up.
Yeah, this is another one of those dream matches. It's a long talked about match for a long time, and I mean a TKO ending that was different, but again, it was just too soon. I felt only a 12-minute match or whatever how long it was. It's this should have been a match at least for a good 20 minutes. I mean,
20 minutes.
Yeah, if they would have done that, I would have been satisfied. But I wanted more. I felt like that with that and how the previous segment went with Reigns and Roman. It's just I felt a little out of it.
Yes.
I felt like it wasn't quite really the show. I felt like they kept messing up. And until actually I heard that it was going to end, I really started thinking first, is there really something going on behind the scenes? It's with everything, all this stuff happening at once. It was just it's a coincidence how it's all happening. You know what I mean?
Sure. That's a valid point with the suspensions, and now with this, it was definitely. I know the crowd was disappointed, and we were disappointed with the ending to SummerSlam 2016. It was a long show. It was an exhausting show to watch, but that's what we did in this review. We covered everything from start to finish, and now at this point in the review, let's give our grades. We thought long and hard. We had a good night's sleep to think over this grade. Mike, I'll start with you, and then I'll give my grade. What grade are you going to give SummerSlam 2016?
Oh man, this one was really hard for me to grade. I mean, I like this better than Mania. This was definitely better than last year's SummerSlam.
Yeah, I'd agree.
But I mean, I know we gave I feel like I gave Mania and SummerSlam a little higher of an advantage than it was. I was trying to find as many as I could were good out of that. But I think after long thinking, I mean, despite the inconsistency, I'm still going to give it a B.
Same for me. We are both in agreement, folks. We are giving SummerSlam just a B. Solid B show. Wasn't the worst. It wasn't the greatest. It was B. It was a B show. So that's our thoughts and opinions on SummerSlam 2016. Thank you all for tuning into this very long review. I think we almost went an hour, so thank you for all who tuned in. Leave your comments down below what you thought of SummerSlam 2016. What did you like? What didn't you like? And, of course, I'll respond back to them. Mike, you can get on, of course, a channel plug.
Yeah, really quick. As I've been saying all weekend, my channel is the Club with the Man 1993. I pretty much do whatever I want. And of course, keep your lookout as this week or next week. I'm going to be making my 2 predicted cards for Backlash and Clash of Champions for next month.
Sounds good. And thank you all for tuning into this live SummerSlam review. Of course, I will see you guys in less than 12 hours for my live Raw review. That'll be at 11:10-ish p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So remember to tune in for my live Raw review. And keep tuning to this channel. Please click that like and subscribe button for more video content coming soon to this channel. And I will see you guys tonight after Raw. So until then, guys, take care.